Hi, I'm Dave from TRINUS Technologies. I'm our Director of Account Management and Marketing. I'm joined today by Kevin, who is our Director of Operations.
Hey, Dave.
Hi, Kevin. So, this is the GFOA 2020 New Normal presentation. We were originally going to talk to you about Microsoft Teams and all the advantages it can bring to your operations. But instead, we thought we'd talk to you about the new work from home normal situation, because we're sure that you and some of your work colleagues are working from home right now. So we have a series of presenters and techs lined up for the next hour that are going to present you with some tips and tricks on how to work from home effectively. But before we get started, what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you around our new project office. Kevin, why don't you show us what we have?
I'd love to. Follow me. All right, so this is the cubicle section of our new project work area. This has been much welcomed by our project team, as before they didn't have their own space to work. They had to just set up their laptop wherever they could find room amongst the computers, servers, and networking equipment that we set up and deploy for our clients. So now they have a space to personalize and do work, enter their notes, and just relax when they need to. Next up, I'll show you the procurement office. The procurement office is where our purchaser works, and this is where he orders all the parts from distribution, follows up with vendors regarding deal registrations, checks inventory, maintains our own inventory, and manages our internal assets. Next, we have the computer setup area. This is where we deploy all of our computers for customers. So we've got a special system to clone computers one to another. We've got a special area to set up servers and networking equipment and to run diagnostics on computers that get shipped to us for additional troubleshooting when there's a problem with them. That's about it for our new project area.
Hi, GFOA 2020. My name is Damon Mascott, and I'm an account manager here at TRINUS Technologies. I've been asked to share with you a little bit about my day-to-day workflows and the challenges that I've faced with working in the office and working at home. So I do a little bit of a split. I work half in the office and half at home. So I'm going to get right into it here and just start talking about some of the things I've noticed and some of the changes that have happened in our TRINUS office. So some of the changes I've noticed to our office is that we've had a limited number of staff, and that's because we've given them the ability to work from home. So it's been nice, but it's also been challenging, especially when it comes to just catching up on a personal level and at a work level. So what I tend to do is try and schedule up video conferences, or even just send a little instant message through Microsoft Teams in order just to catch up with some of the coworkers and some of my staff members here at the office. So it also helps that we do a weekly check-in with each other just to see how everybody is doing and how the workflows are going, and just see how everybody's doing in general. So it has been a little bit challenging when it comes to, having a quick question, or you want to have a quick conversation with somebody. It's now you have to schedule it up, or you have to hope that the person on the other end really wants to answer your call and isn't trying to seclude or ignore you in any way, shape, or form. So having good relationship is key here. Of course, with that being said, the limited amount of staff has been really good for when we bring in treats for the office. It just means that there's more treats to go around, and they tend to last a little bit longer. So if you guys can all just stay home for a little bit longer, I might gain a few pounds when you come back. But hey, that's the COVID-20 for you. Of course, with the limited amount of staff, it's been a little bit easier to concentrate, which has been nice. I'm not getting pulled away on many side conversations or people coming into my office to ask me a bunch of questions. A lot of those questions now just come in the form of a Teams message or an email, and it's been a lot easier to respond to those than be dragged away from what I'm doing. So I'm actually going to talk a little bit about my routines from working from home and just some of the ways I stay productive. So I'll jump right into that here right away. So for me, working from home, some of the routines that I have is I have to keep the dog busy. So if you're like myself, you probably understand a little bit about having to keep the dog busy and out of the office as much as possible. So for me, I always have to make sure I have some dog bones on hand or some dog treats. Even close the office door. However, my dog's pretty smart, and unfortunately, she knows how to open my office door, so she tends to bug me a lot more often than I would like. But if I can give her a dog bone, she seems to be pretty distracted. So, really, no squeaker toys in the background or anything that would really get in the way of a conference call or a phone call. So that's been nice. I've also set up a home office desk, which has been very helpful because I can have the same amount of monitors that I do in the office, but at home. So I have the same kind of monitor spread as I do in the office, a nice little docking station that I can just click into, and I'm connected up. So there's really no inefficiencies there. So it's pretty much like working in the office, but of course I'm working from home. With that being said, I also have started planning out my day a little bit better. At the beginning of the week, I start a task list of everything I want to do for each day, and it really keeps me on track. I can check off things as I do them, and it's really been helpful for me in the office and at home because, especially when I'm at home, there's so many distractions that you can get distracted by. So, just being able to refer to my list and know exactly what I want to get done for that day, I can check them off the list and keep those distractions to a minimum. Of course, with that being said, sometimes it can be hard to really switch from working from home, that kind of mindset, to now, okay, I got to live my personal life. So, for me personally, what I've been doing is at the end of the day, 5 o'clock, 5:30, I shut down the computer, I take the dog, we go for a walk. We walk for a few kilometers, come back home, and that's enough to really reset my head and reset my mind to start thinking of personal life again. So that's typically what I do to stay separate from work, and it may or may not work for you, and that's okay. Everybody has their own ways of dealing with working from home and having that mental switch. We're all in this together, so we just have to take it day by day. And I really look forward to seeing all of you at the GFOA 2021.
Hi everyone, it's Nigel. I'm the project team manager at TRINUS Technology, and I'm here to share with you some of the most effective devices to help you work from home. Number one, your primary business device, your computer. When you have a suitably prepared, dedicated business computer, you're more ready to tackle your daily operations. From software licensing to security, it has everything you need to do your job properly and effectively. Number two, internet connectivity. I prefer a network cable. Hardwired connections are always stable and reliable, guaranteed to work all the time, with the exception of when a cable dies, which is very rare. Works great. However, if wired network is not available to you, consider a commercial-grade wireless access point. While it's slightly more cost than a home unit, it is greatly more effective, covers more area, is expandable, and gives you much better coverage all over your home. Number three, it's actually two items, keyboard and a mouse. You may prefer trackball, that's up to you. However, a full-size keyboard and mouse or pointing device is much more natural. It's just like at the office. You don't have to worry about using a small compact keyboard on your laptop and accidentally touching the touchpad and moving the cursor away while you think you're typing. Number four, monitors. Having a monitor or two at home helps you see your applications better. But instead of looking at the screen and trying to fit everything on one, if you can replicate what you do at work, it's easier to work at home. Personally, I take one normal monitor, have it landscape, and I have a second monitor in portrait mode so I can read long documents. Works great. Number five, audio. Headset. I love using a big over-the-ear headset. It's got nice comfortable foam so I can use it for a long time without being irritated or bothered. USB connectivity gives me a higher quality digital sound, and I don't have to mess around with the poles and the little ports. Works great. Number 6. The last item is an item that combines all the previous items into one. A dock, or it could be called a port replicator. Normally it connects via a proprietary connector on your laptop. It could be on the bottom, it could be on the side, or it could connect just via USB. However, it connects everything we discussed previously into here. It's got USB ports for your keyboard and mouse. It's got network ports should you want to have wire network. It's got video out so you can connect your monitors. And it just drops. You drop your laptop in, and it's just like at the office. You can pack your laptop up and come home, drop her in, stick it in, turn it on. Everything's the same. You don't have to mess with wires. You don't have to mess with connections. It just works. Thank you very much for watching this video. Again, my name is Nigel, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Hey everyone, Devin here. So I want to talk about posture. And since I'm not a physiotherapist, I want to talk about a couple things that really made a big difference for me as I transitioned into working remotely. So as an account manager, I'm used to sitting in a chair at my desk maybe 2 to 3 hours a day. And so I got away with, slouching, not really having a good position, posture, or anything like that. But then comes this pandemic, and all of a sudden we're all working remotely. So all those meetings that I would have in the day are now done at my desk. So I went from working just a couple hours to now working 8 to 10 hours at my desk every day. So as you can imagine, I started developing a pain in my wrist. My posture wasn't good, so I wasn't sleeping well. And one of the things that made a really big difference was getting a chair that was actually good for me and fit for me. I'm 6'3", so getting a chair that was a little bit taller, has proper lumbar support, and kind of forces me to sit straight was made a big difference. In addition, I also make it a point to do stretches every day, and I don't sit for more than 2 hours. I think it's really important to make sure at least you get up every 2 hours, go for a quick walk, could be around the house or on the block, anything like that. You want to make sure that you don't sit for too long. It's not healthy, and I promise, doing these simple things will make a big difference in your day. Thank you.
Hi, my name is John Harmon. I'm one of the account managers here at TRINUS. Well, not here at TRINUS. As you can see, I'm working from home. I actually just thought I'd make a quick coffee. As many of you are or have been, I also am finding myself working from home in this pandemic or crisis, or however you want to refer to it. So much so that I actually really enjoy it, and I've asked to continue working from home because I found that for me, my effectiveness and productivity is actually up when I'm in a comfortable atmosphere, as many other people are as well. I'd like to talk to you today very briefly on Microsoft 365, and some of you will have already have used this product and some of the new products within Microsoft 365, Microsoft Teams, and Microsoft SharePoint. If you haven't used it, I'm positive you've heard of it. Just to rewind a little bit, Microsoft 365 is the new name given to Office 365. And with that are many levels and tiers, as you more than likely have used. What is Microsoft 365, previously known as Office 365? Well, it's a web-based subscription product monthly that always provides you with the updated versions of the Microsoft suite products. So Office, PowerPoint, Excel. From there you get things like Access, Publisher. Some include Adobe products. And then there's, of course, Teams and SharePoint that I'm going to speak about right away. Microsoft Teams, which I have found is one of the most useful things now that I find myself in a work from home environment, is an internal and external communication system that allows users video chat, audio chat, or just instant messenger, as many of us in the millennial and lower age range grew up using just as an everyday tool. It has allowed us to have instantaneous results as far as communication, as far as sending, receiving documents, and really altogether just getting things done. We live in a very different world where 70% of employees work from home in some capacity. Now, whether that's a morning a week or 5 days a week, that availability is out there for people, and people do take advantage of that. Now, we also have something called Microsoft SharePoint. So within Teams, as I said, which is your internal communication tool, SharePoint is the file sharing and collaboration tool that incorporates with all the features of the Office suite. It allows different team members to work together on documents, on files, all across the organization. And I can speak from personal experience. It has made my life a lot easier using something like Teams. For example, recently a coworker and I were working on a document for a municipality, and rather than just send things back and forth or save it in the server, let the other person work on it, they save it in the server, I look at it, we've been able to collaborate in a team, but work on this document and speak back and forth on it and make things a lot easier for all of us. I can say without bias that working remotely and having access to both of these tools, both Teams and SharePoint, has made my life so much easier when it comes to working and working from home, and has allowed me to remain effective as an account manager and as a part of the TRINUS team. If you're familiar with these products and services, as I mentioned before, you probably knew them under the Office 365 umbrella. When talking about what is now Microsoft 365, as I said, the big change is a name change. So if you knew something called Office 365 Business Essentials, it's now called Microsoft 365 Business Basic. If you knew something is called Business Premium, it's now called Business Standard. So same products, different name. TRINUS is here to help you and to support you in all of these. Thanks so much, and I hope you all have a great day.
Hello, my name is Kevin White. I'm the Director of Operations and Business Development for TRINUS Technologies, and I'd like to spend some time today just reviewing best practices when it comes to IT security for working from home. I know that this is top of mind for a lot of people, especially with COVID-19 on the go, but these are just good things to keep in mind if you have you yourself or any staff are working from home. It can be a little bit less secure. And that leads me to my first point. It's important to realize that when you're working from home in a traditional IT network, it's inherently less secure than when you're in the office. There are less security countermeasures deployed when you're at home compared to being in the office, so there's always going to be some level of risk. It's almost always worth the risk if things are set up properly, but it's just something to keep in mind. It's just inherently less secure in the majority of cases. The first thing to keep in mind is to always use two-factor authentication. So whether you're connecting to your corporate network remotely over a virtual private network, which is commonly referred to as VPN, or you're accessing a remote desktop server or your own workstation through remote desktop, having two-factor authentication is crucial. Typically what it results to is a push notification running to something like a smartphone. It could be a text message or an email. The push notification is typically the best way to do it, but it just prevents, it really puts a hard stop on hackers or somebody with malicious intent trying to compromise your network remotely. It's important to keep in mind that if your users are using VPN, that they do not VPN from a personal computing device, that they VPN from a corporate secured device that is maintained by your IT provider or by your internal IT department that has your corporate antivirus installed on it, and that they have some level of visibility, your IT has some level of visibility on that device. What can happen is as soon as you create a virtual private network connection or VPN connection between that device and your corporate network, if that personal device is infected with some sort of malware or has been compromised in some way, you've essentially just compromised the rest of your network. So obviously there's a significant security concern there. It's also important to keep in mind that if you're using remote desktop, that it's not good practice to be remotely connecting to your workstation that's in the office. Even if you're using a corporate-owned device, say a laptop at home, to remote desktop connect into your desktop computer that's in the office, There's a couple reasons why that's not ideal. The first is that it's extremely difficult to manage for an IT provider or for an IT department. If you think about it, it's multiplied by the amount of people that you have within the organization, as opposed to having a centralized remote desktop server where everybody is connecting to the same server or to the same virtual desktop environment, if you have such a thing. And once you've got the more remote connections that you have, the more security holes get poked in your network every time. So as opposed to having a single point of internet access through a single remote desktop server or a virtual desktop infrastructure configuration, you now have something that's maybe multiple times that, depending on the amount of users that you have accessing their computers in that way. It's also really important to ensure that employees are not storing any corporate data on personal computers. I saw a statistic the other day that when polled, over 40% of employees throughout a variety of industries have admitted to slacking on cybersecurity practices and best practices that they've been taught and have agreed with when they're compared to working in the office when they're working at home. So obviously that's a significant concern. A lot of people are, okay, well, I'm checking my email on personal devices or on a personal laptop. I'm downloading these corporate files on personal devices. And if you have any sort of sensitive information or employees are working with sensitive information, as soon as it reaches a personal device, it's gone. You can't, there's no way for you to track what happens to it after that. It could be easily compromised, shared, be it advertently or inadvertently. So that's something that's important to educate your users on. You should also ask them to limit what they're using corporate devices for when they are at home. They shouldn't be using it for home work, browsing Amazon or Facebook or anything like that. The same standards or recommendations that you have when they're in the office should apply to when they're at home. And obviously when they're at home, it can be much more tempting to be doing those things because not only is somebody not looking over my shoulder or you're not going to get caught in doing it, but also the lines between when you're doing work and when you're doing personal time at home is obviously they become blurred much quicker. You want to encourage employees to remain vigilant when they're working from home. You are typically not behind, like when you're in the office, you have a corporate firewall that protects and initially scans all traffic coming into your network. When you're at home, obviously, in most cases, you don't have that. Now, if you're connecting over a VPN connection or a virtual private network, a lot of cases, internet traffic for that user is actually routed through the corporate firewall in the main office, which is good. But when somebody's using a corporate device and they're not connected over a VPN and they're at home, they have inherently less security on their device. They have antivirus typically installed, which is good, but they don't have the extra level of filtering. So it's important to make sure that, okay, don't click on anything you don't understand, don't be open up spam, and definitely be vigilant and question things that don't look normal to you. Finally, a couple things that I'll mention is that make sure that employees aren't trying to use what we like to call in the industry shadow IT and get around get around the way that your network is set up. This is typically done when employees try and enable or they download a personal version of Dropbox or Google Drive or OneDrive or iCloud or something like that, and they upload corporate files into that personal Dropbox account or Google Drive account so that they can share it with colleagues, because obviously it's more difficult, or it's typically more difficult to share and collaborate on information when working from home, and Dropbox and Google Drive and OneDrive and SharePoint and things like that can be good tools to aid with that. But unless that solution is managed by your organization in something like SharePoint or a corporate version of Google Drive, your IT department has no way to regulate the use of those tools. And so again, they're not only are they on somebody's computer at that point, but they've also been uploaded to the cloud. What level of security are on those accounts? Are those accounts secured with two-factor authentication? Your corporate IT has no say in what data protection is like in that circumstance. And so data can easily be shared. As soon as it's really uploaded to the cloud, it's going to be there almost forever. So you really have lost control over your data, which can be a huge compliance concern, especially for government. So that's something to keep in mind. It's important to encourage your users to remain vigilant when it comes to any sort of social engineering scams. Typically, this is when somebody is trying to impersonate the CEO or the CAO or the CFO or the mayor or the Reeve in saying, "Hey, I need you to wire a bunch of money to this account, or I need you to do something to provide services or send this money to somebody's account," when it's actually, and it looks like it's coming from that individual's email, but it's actually coming from somebody else, and they're trying to scam you out of a significant amount of money. This has happened to quite a few local governments. It's happened to the city of Saskatoon, for example, for millions of dollars. And before, one of the big preventions against that is you were able to go to that person's office and ask them, "Hey, did you send me this email? Is this legitimate?" And typically they would say, "No, I didn't send you that email. Please don't do that," and delete the email. But now, not being in the same office as someone, it seems simple, but that's more difficult to do. You have to either message them on an instant messenger, you have to give them a call. Don't respond to that email, obviously, because if somebody's sending you email, any response that you send is going to go back to that individual. So just confirm with them in another way to make sure that you're not, your employees aren't accidentally sending money or other goods or information to people who shouldn't be receiving it. And finally, create a work-from-home policy that specifically talks about the things I just mentioned and specifically talks about IT. Employees should be signing off and complying and agreeing with a policy that says, "I will not be doing some of these things. I will be being vigilant. I will not be using my computer for personal use. I will not be using my personal Dropbox to store and share and synchronize corporate data." You want to make sure that they sign off on that because if something does go wrong and they were doing that, then at least from a liability standpoint, you're in much better shape if you have a record of telling them not to do that. So I hope this was helpful for you. I hope that the other sessions have also been helpful, the other tips have also been helpful, and I hope that you have a great day. Thank you.
Hello everyone, it's Misty here from TRINUS Technologies. I'm here today to talk to you about video meeting etiquette. We have all heard about, or even been unfortunate enough to witness, video meeting fails. These fails can range from forgetting that your mic is on, to exposing a not so great background, or even taking your video meeting to the loo. Video meetings are the new norm for many workplaces, and I'm here today to give you a few tips to have the best video meeting experience. If you have somehow managed to avoid taking selfies up to this point in your life, you are about to skip over those deletable snaps and jump straight into lights, camera, action. Video is important in the workplace because we need to see each other's facial expressions to feel connected with each other. While it might be tempting to jump on a video meeting call in your at-home comfy clothes, you shouldn't. Be sure to wear work-appropriate clothing. Yes, that includes the bottoms as well. It only takes once to forget and expose what you didn't plan on anyone else seeing. By placing your camera too low, you can end up with awkward angles and an unwanted view. You need to get your camera to the right level, which is eye level. If you are using a laptop with a built-in camera, use whatever you can find to prop it up so that it is at eye level. Make adjustments to allow you to comfortably face the camera and position yourself in the frame so that you can see your shoulders and up. Go ahead, check yourself out. In Microsoft Teams, you can take advantage of the preview of the video before you join the meeting. This way, you know you're looking your best. You don't want to start a video meeting with a mountain of dirty dishes behind you. This can be distracting to other meeting participants, not to mention embarrassing for you. If you don't have time to tidy up, Microsoft has got your back. There's an easier way to hide your comfy COVID cave. While in a Teams meeting, you can simply blur your background or add a background effect. Voila! Go ahead, let the sunshine in. Natural light will do great things for your video, as long as you use it correctly. That's better. Try not to sit in front of a bright window. It can cause you to become a dark shadow. The best options are to put a light facing the front or sides of your face. Those will give you the best lighting quality. Before you join a meeting, be sure to mute your mic. If you have something to say during the meeting, simply click mute, speak, and then mute again. You don't want to be that meeting participant who thinks they're being really quiet and don't need to be on mute. Most mics can pick up a lot of background noise, such as coughs, sneezes, and even that secret typing and mouse clicking as you try to multitask during your meeting, doing online shopping or checking Pinterest or Facebook. During a meeting, if you have a question, try to make sure that it's not an open-ended question. Specify the participant who you would like to answer the question. That way you will avoid everyone trying to answer at the same time, which can evolve into a no, you go, no, you go standoff.
Misty, what is that picture in the back?
What's
Tim, would you have one second?
flowers
Oh, sorry.
Did you shave your flowers back there?
Whose turn is it?
Okay.
Going.
Go ahead.
Go
No,
ahead.
you go.
Go ahead.
No, you
Go ahead. Lilac.
Okay, guys. Rock, paper, scissors.
What?
When you first start to speak during a meeting, fight the urge to ask, "Can you hear me?" A simple good morning or hello will suffice. And if the meeting participants don't respond, then perhaps they can't hear you. But otherwise, yes, we can hear you.
Am I coming through okay? Hey? Are you there? Can you hear me?
Kind of.
Are you there?
Are you trying to say something, or is that just you thinking?
Hello? Wait a minute. I think I'm supposed to be speaking up. Can you hear me? It's breaking up.
Just like a police officer can tell if you're texting from your lap while driving, the other meeting participants can see if you're concentrating on something other than the meeting you are attending. Stop checking emails or doing other things during video meetings. It is simply rude to the other participants not to be engaged in the meeting. This one does not come easily. We all make the common mistake of looking at the video feed instead of the camera when speaking during a meeting. While it may appear to be the correct thing to do, it actually makes it look like you're looking into a galaxy far, far away. Looking at the camera lens is the equivalent of looking in a person's eyes. Making that eye contact will create an engaging meeting experience. I hope you enjoyed my tips. Just like anything in life, mastering video meetings takes practice. The more we are exposed to this gift of meeting anytime and anywhere, well, almost anywhere, the more comfortable video meetings will be. Until next time, be kind and patient with one another, and have a fantastic day.
Hey everyone, Devin here. So today I want to talk about something that I think is important. With everything going on, I think that people's mental health is extremely important. It's very easy to kind of, bury yourself in work or do a lot of things that kind of distract you from what's going on. But I think there's a couple things that, that if everyone participated, if everyone did something, I think it makes a big difference in a lot of people's lives. And it's really quite simple. I think you just need to talk to people. For the last 6 weeks, I've kind of made it a point to make about 2 phone calls every week to people I haven't talked to in a long time. Or if I have, make it not about work. Like if they're an existing client or something like that, just calling them and saying, hey, how are you? How's your day? And just hearing their story. And I think it's been really beneficial for me because, I like to talk to people. I'm used to seeing people in person. I think it's part of the human connection. So it's nice to kind of see how people are doing and let them vent if they need to, and kind of hear their story. And, I've kind of challenged a few people to maybe do the same thing just every week. Try and make it a point to call a couple people, see how they're doing. And you never know it, but sometimes you might just make their day. So give it a try.
Hi, it's Dave from TRINUS, and you guessed it, I'm working from home. I'm the Director of Account Management and Marketing, lead a small team, John, Damon, Misty, and Chris. At the start of the lockdown, it was pretty much business as usual. We were all in the office, just doing our work. Then as the restrictions became more serious, we all started working from home. I, I go into the office right now maybe a couple of times a week, and even then, only for half a day. You might be in the same situation. So you tired of blurry images from kitchens and basements and bedrooms? How about tech that doesn't work? Now things are getting better, but it's still not perfect, not by a long stretch. But the restrictions are starting to ease, and we're starting to receive requests for people to start permanently working from home. We've had a couple of these so far. So we've even seen a lot of articles about office towers emptying out as people move into the suburbs, want more green space. Well, wait a minute, not so fast. There's a lot more to think about. So most of the staff at Trinus have been working from home for, close to 2 months now. So as an informal study in business management, we've been keeping a close eye on what's been going on. And I'd like to share some thoughts and personal experiences. Now I've got a great home office environment here. I have a large desk, comfy chair, quiet room, and really good lighting. And as expected, I've got a fast computer, I've got dual monitors, all the tech goodies, including these great noise canceling headphones. You really need to get a pair of these. But not everyone is so fortunate. Some struggle. We've had some hints about uncomfortable chairs, distractions, noise, and poor lighting. So first lesson is, for the long term, the environment is as important as the tech. You can't just give someone a laptop and a mouse and expect them to be productive at home. We also had to rewrite our work from home policy. Now, you do have a work from home policy, don't you? Now, I work in the tech industry and have for the last 20 years. I'm supposed to know what I'm doing. This should be effortless. Well, that's not true. New cybersecurity is bringing new procedures and more complexity. While we need the extra cybersecurity, it's really increasing my frustration. Here's an example. To access some Office files, I need to establish what's called an SSL VPN. That's Secure Socket Layer Virtual Private Network. But to do so, we've implemented two-factor authentication. That means I get a special code on my cell phone. That's 3 steps to make just the connection to get to the Office files. But if I want to have a team meeting with a colleague, then the SSL VPN makes for a lousy, unstable environment, so I have to disconnect it. So the upshot is that I'm constantly reconfiguring my computer setup. Inevitably, I mess up or the technology does. So lesson number 2, be prepared to lose some efficiency and be tolerant with frustrated users. Staying connected is becoming more difficult. At first, I just ignored the lack of the casual interaction, the impromptu chats that we have in each other's offices, or the ability to walk down the hall and ask a question. But after a couple of weeks, I found myself, I was out of the loop. So to combat this, we implemented weekly team check-in meetings. The agenda is really simple. Just tell us what you've been doing and what are you going to do this upcoming week. After a while, we put in 2 new features. One was, we started asking a common question that everyone has to answer. Here's an example. Are you receiving enough communication with your Trinus coworkers? If not, what would make it better? The second thing we did is that everyone needs to provide a weekly plan of their activities. It helps them self-plan their week. So lesson number 3, managers need to be more deliberate and proactive in communicating with staff so that you don't lose the small and subtle communications. Finally, the lines are going to start to blur between work and home. It's inevitable. So schedules are going to change. You're going to see more personal habits, a lot of casual interaction. Now, some of this is okay, but you got to remember it's a business office. This is especially true of video meetings. So you're going to see casual dress codes. You're going to be introduced to children and pets. You're going to see pictures, book titles, personal mementos. Here's an example. This is my favorite coffee mug. It's bought by my wife a few years ago. Certainly innocent enough, but it was commented on by a work colleague. You got to be careful. By the way, how do you like my sweatshirt? So be prepared to be more involved in the personal lives of coworkers and resist the temptation to judge. On a related aside, I attended a webinar that was put on by Zoom, and their VP of sales was broadcasting from his son's loft bedroom. The image was blurry, the audio was muffled, there were tech dropouts. It wasn't their best moment. Try to keep it professional. Well, that's it. A few simple tips to consider when having your staff work from home in the long term. Bye for now.
Well, that was a lot of information to absorb. I hope you found it helpful. If you'd like to reference this information later, you can find a copy of it on our website or our social media channels. A huge thank you to all of our presenters.
And we hope to see you next year at the 2021 GFOA conference in person. Goodbye from TRINUS.